Well, Dr. Kathy Wehrmann is an emeritus associate professor of social work at Illinois State University. Her professional background also includes work in Illinois' public child welfare system and serving as a consultant on a variety of child welfare projects and programs. She has developed child protection training programs for several cohorts of Romanian officials and has been a Fulbright Senior Scholar at the University of Bucharest and had subsequent grants to carry out special projects. Her research interests include program evaluation of child welfare and adolescent mental health programs. For the last several years, she has taught practice evaluation and field education at the MC master level. Dr. Wehrmann has served as the U.S. National Association of Social Workers Board President 2007-2020. In this role, she also had the privilege of serving as a member of International Federation of Social Workers Executive Committee. At present, Dr. Wehrmann has served as adjunct faculty at Fordham University. She is taught for social policy online. She has also served as an adjunct faculty for Mary's College Social Work Department. She currently serves as chair of the Global Social Service Workforce Alliance Steering Committee. Wow, it's a good brief.
Okay, well, thank you for that introduction. It's really great to join you today for the International Congress of Social Work to talk about the Global Social Service Workforce Alliance. I really appreciate being able to join in with a presentation at a conference that's exploring the frontiers of social work and celebrating innovation and transformation. The Alliance really resonates with these themes and really welcomes the opportunity to talk with everyone who will see this about the work the Alliance does under the leadership of our director, Hugh Salmon, to strengthen the social service workforce. So at this point, I'd like to start sharing the screen. There we go. And then if we can go to, yeah, perfect. Perfect. Okay. So getting back, what I'll be doing today is covering who we are as an alliance, what our mission is, our people, and the impact that we try to have in the world. We'll be looking at our definition of the social service workforce, which includes top of the list, social workers, of course, but there are many others, as I'm sure most of you know in your own work as social workers that are part of the social service team. We'll be talking about our workforce strengthening framework. We'll talk about the resources that the Alliance has developed in collaboration with key funding partners. And most of all, we're going to talk with you about how to get involved as a member and a participant in our regular events, because membership in the Alliance is open to everyone, and we hope you'll take advantage of that if you haven't already. It's also free. I'll emphasize that at different points throughout. At the end, we'll have a question and answers. And as I mentioned, Elena Sherman is here with us to help with that process. So next, well, before we move to the next slide, let me just say over the past year, we've been celebrating our 10-year anniversary as an alliance. So to commemorate the occasion, we've been focusing on the theme, a decade of progress, a future of promise. Now, this theme really celebrates the global, regional, and country level progress that has been made to strengthen the social service workforce over the years. as well as to look to the future and the importance of continuing these efforts in the years and decades to come, knowing that we all are going to be responding to new challenges in our rapidly changing world. Some of our recent work, including our annual symposium, as well as our Social Service Workforce Week, which we host every year to advocate for the social service workforce, as well as our State of the Service Social Service Workforce Report, have all been incorporated into our anniversary theme. And I hope you will visit our website to read more about what we have to offer and what we're celebrating. Next slide, please. This is our mission. We are an inclusive, representative network of members working together to build a world in which a well-planned, developed, and supported social service workforce is better able to address the needs of at-risk individuals and communities, something that I think all of us are highly invested in. From my perspective, the Alliance's efforts also contribute to building peace in the world by enabling the workforce to be more responsive to human need and dedicated to building community. Our mission is to promote and strengthen the social service workforce to provide services when and where they are most needed to alleviate poverty, challenge and reduce discrimination, and promote social justice and human rights, as well as to prevent and respond to violence and family separation. So to achieve that goal, we work to build and channel the political will, actions, resources, and structures that are needed for a social service workforce that is knowledgeable, capable, critically reflective, resilient, and committed. Next slide, please. We have what is not really a lengthy history, but one that has stood the test of at least 10 years. We were originally conceived during the Social Welfare Workforce Strengthening Conference held in Cape Town, South Africa in 2010. At that time, teams from 18 different countries joined together to share experiences and address key challenges facing the social service workforce at a national, regional, and global level. The idea of the Alliance was proposed to provide ongoing support for and dialogue around effective social service workforce strengthening practices. We marked our official launch as a network in June 2013. When I think about it, our origin story reminds me of the Margaret Mead quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And if that doesn't speak to your social work hearts, I can't imagine what does. It certainly speaks to mine. So after 10 years, the Alliance is still going strong and evolving to meet the challenges that lie before the social service workforce community. And as for the changes that we've contributed to the world, well, I would just have to encourage you to review some of the resources on our website, and I'll be talking about a few of them. But one thing I know for sure, the Global Social Service Workforce Alliance has made the world a little bit smaller by bringing committed individuals from many different countries to share and collaborate in our strengthening efforts. I must say, our small team uses technology to great advantage in order to do that. Next slide, please. So, how do we approach this work? We take a multifaceted, people-centered approach to strengthening the social service workforce. First of all, we are conveners of an inclusive network of more than 3,500 members from across 150 countries to foster collaboration and knowledge exchange among those engaged in workforce strengthening. Our members, of which I hope that you all consider becoming, are affiliated with government organizations, civil society organizations, NGOs, academic institutions, donor groups, and professional associations. Our members are able to engage with one another through collaboration on our website, as well as through our interest groups and our events, such as our annual symposium and webinars. The second component of our approach is to advance knowledge and build the evidence base for effective social service workforce strengthening. When we do this by developing and sharing research, resources, tools, models, and best practices. To date, we have produced over 27 resources to aid countries in their efforts to plan, develop, and support the workforce, many of which are considered to be best practices in this area. We also, and not to brag, but we also house the leading library of resources and tools focused on social service workforce strengthening. We're talking over 1,400 resources, all of which you can access through our website. Next slide, please. Our third area of focus is on building capacity. And this includes working with various stakeholders to develop plans and initiatives to strengthen their social service workforce and improve the systems that ensure the well-being of the most at-risk populations. To date, we've worked with over 440 national governments to design and implement workforce strengthening strategies. Some examples include working with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations to develop the first ever regional framework to expand and strengthen the social service workforce across Southeast Asia. After we did a mapping assessment, we found that there were some significant challenges, including one, very low ratios of social workers per population. Two, only 3 countries in the region had a professionalized workforce. And 3, there were poor public perceptions of social workers. So we had some things to support the area in working on. Another example of our efforts in capacity building includes working with the government of Uganda to develop the first national framework for strengthening the social service workforce, along with developing an operational framework. I just want to step back and say all of this work is done on the ground locally with the people who are directly involved. It's not imposed from the outside. It's very much a team approach. The final area of focus is on advocacy. We work to promote effective advocacy and stimulate an active network of advocates to elevate the understanding and gain support for the social service workforce. This includes the activity I mentioned before, hosting Social Service Workforce Week every year, during which at least 35 organizations from across the globe join us to advocate for the workforce. Our Global Advocacy Toolkit, again, available on our website, has also helped build the capacity for others to advocate at both the national and regional levels. And over 35 organizations, again, have joined us in issuing a call to action for strengthening the social service workforce to better protect children and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide, please. It's important that we have a definition of the social service workforce, again, to help people understand. So who is the social service workforce? What we can say, and this is our official definition on the slide, is that it includes a broad range of professionals and paraprofessionals, those who have formal university qualifications and those who may have undergone special on-the-job training, government, and NGO workers. They also work with a wide range of people, from children and youth to older people, to adults with particular needs, to whole families and communities. Their functions and responsibilities range from providing preventative and responsive services at the micro and meso levels, individuals and communities, to promoting the workforce through advocacy, training, monitoring, and supervision at all levels, including macro or national level. On the slide is our definition, as I mentioned. And I have to tell you that this was developed through a very long and wide process of consultation with stakeholders across the globe. On the right side of the slide are the different titles used in different contexts throughout the world. Okay. Next slide, please. This slide, there's a lot going on here, but it's an effort to provide another way of understanding who makes up the social service workforce. It shows varied roles within the social service workforce, including the allied workforce in other sectors that social workers and others in the workforce work with, maybe from health, from education, and from justice. It further shows the occupational levels and qualifications needed for the varied levels of the workforce. So currently, the social service workforce currently employed in social services or statutory decision-making roles include social workers with university degrees, professional specialists who are employed in social service providing organizations who may have something other than social work degrees, such as psychologists, social pedagogues, lawyers, speech therapists. Also, there are paraprofessionals who are employed in social services in roles that don't have a requirement for specialized formal education. So that may include village heads, community leaders, foster carers, personal assistants, and home care workers. It's believed that, and I think most would agree, that practitioners who are performing social work tasks that require professional competencies in social work, or who are employed in statutory decision-making positions or social service providing organizations, and they may have no social work degrees. There are also social protection administrators and specialists that may work closely with social service workforce members, but are usually overseen under one ministry in a unified social protection system. And then finally, there's the allied workforce, professionals in those other settings that I described in health, education, and justice. So a little more complexity in this slide, but it's just another way of looking at it. Next slide, please. So in terms of strengthening the social service workforce, where do our challenges lie? As you can see, top one, and perhaps some of you have experienced this in your own countries, that people may not understand, and particularly government officials sometimes may not understand the value of the workforce. it is hard sometimes to articulate the important work we do. And it's been a challenge of my lifetime to think of a way to do it so that people understand. So today, the best thing I come up with is social workers and social service workforce members are the connective tissue that bring people in need together with responsive resources and expertise. And that's a challenge that we need to meet in our work in various countries. When people don't understand the value, as it indicates on the slide, we don't have a workforce that is well or appropriately equipped, supported, or empowered to do the amazing work we know they can do. Therefore, we're wasting resources, the worst kind of resources. We're wasting human resources. So keeping that in mind, next slide, please. One of our most valuable tools is our social service workforce strengthening framework. Again, it's one of our most essential resources, and you'll find key resources on our website for each of the 3 steps that are identified here. First, the planning, the developing, and the supporting. And it goes round and round. You're never quite finished because we can constantly improve. But note, the framework is intended to be country-specific. It takes into consideration country-specific context, including the social service system that's in place, culture, local legislation, labor market economy. This is something that's highly adaptable. And it has been and utilized around the world as a key framework to guide workforce strengthening efforts. It outlines what are widely considered to be core best practice elements in each one of those areas. It's intended as a guide to support country efforts to strengthen the workforce. It's also the framework we use when we're helping guide countries on how to strengthen their workforce. So depending on where you practice and what your role is, you may find that it's a very useful framework to apply and adapt to your situation. Going further, taking strategic approaches to planning the social workforce must be taken to ensure adequate provision of the resources and skilled personnel needed. The workforce must be developed to foster expertise, professionalism, and adaptability. So key activities are going to be, for example, to design pre-service education and in-service programs. To ensure that the curricula includes local and indigenous knowledge as well as international best practices. We need to think about strengthening faculty and teaching methods and provide a broad range of in-service professional development opportunities for workers. We also need to be thinking about increasing the incentive for individuals to come and join the social service workforce. And once we have recruited people, we want to retain them and ensure the quality of the current social service workforce. So that means developing or strengthening systems to improve and sustain worker performance, as well as developing tools and resources and initiatives to improve job satisfaction, and supporting professional associations in their efforts to enhance the professional growth and development of the workforce. Organizations like the International Federation of Social Workers, for example, the International Association of Schools of Social Work are one more example. The following slides will break this down a little bit more. So next slide, please. So planning the workforce, we want to make sure that we're carrying out assessments to identify human resource gaps and improve recruitment, hiring, and deployment practices. We also want to advocate for political will to do this kind of work. We may need legislative frameworks and resource allocation to strengthen and support the workforce. So that's for planning. So what do we have to offer in terms of resources for planning from the Alliance? Next slide, please. Here are just a few examples. The first one on the left, the Social Service Workforce Mapping Toolkit, is a guide, step-by-step guide to complete a national social service workforce mapping process to figure out who's out there, what are they doing, is it enough? Are we under-resourced in terms of, social service workforce to population? So virtually everything you would need to conduct a study on a national or on a more local level may be found in this toolkit. We also have our proposed guidance on developing minimum social service workforce ratios. Again, a step-by-step guide for estimating minimum workforce ratios at the country level or for a specific local context. It can also be used in conjunction with another proposed guidance document called Proposed Guidance for Costing the Social Service Workforce, which helps policymakers and planners figure out how to calculate the cost of human resources required to target minimum ratio of social service workers per population. So 3 major pieces that are available for use that we have developed, as you can see, in conjunction with UNICEF, for the last 2 that I spoke about. Next slide, please. For developing the workforce, well, what do we need? Not to be redundant, but we need to have high quality training, curriculum, teaching methods that are engaging and effective, as well as the capacity to continue to in-service members of the social service workforce. It's a critical part of retention as well. Next slide, please. So again, what resources do we have to offer? We have guidelines to strengthen the social service workforce for child protection that we developed in conjunction with UNICEF, and it's designed to accelerate programming on the social service workforce in the area for child protection. We also have core concepts and principles of effective case management, which aims to support social service workers responsible for implementing case management process. It articulates main principles and concepts of case management and is meant to serve as a guide to help inform local and contextualized approaches. One more, there are paraprofessionals in the social service workforce, guiding principles, functions, and competencies. This document provides guidance for developing programs and activities related to how paraprofessionals can be trained, developed, and supported. Next slide, please. Supporting the workforce. We're talking about how we develop systems to improve and sustain worker performance. And we know we need provision of good training. We need provision of good supervision to support professional growth and expertise. And again, coming back to supporting professional associations, it's important because they enhance professional growth and development of the workforce too, and help elevate the profile of social workers and other social service workforce members and the contribution they make. I might also encourage you, if you go to our website, to take a look at a technical note that was written during the COVID-19 pandemic, still ongoing, but it was entitled Taking Care of the Workforce During COVID-19. It's another example. Next slide, please. Oh, and there it is, the one I just mentioned. These are resources available on our website that speak directly to resources to support the workforce. And note that we do have one, guidance on strengthening supervision for the social service workforce, in addition to the COVID one that I mentioned. Also, we offer a global advocacy toolkit for the social service workforce. Offers a common set of tools and messages to help bring about greater political and programmatic priority for the social service workforce. Next slide, please. Just want to talk a little bit about a particular focus, and this one would be strengthening the workforce for family-based care. In addition to our core work as a network, the Alliance is also funded by a generous grant from USAID, and we're currently working on 3 workforce strengthening projects with UNICEF in Iraq, Tunisia, and Sri Lanka. We also have an exciting new project funded by the Martin James Foundation, which is working to capture the experiences of care-experienced youth in Brazil, India, and Uganda to inform workforce training and advocacy tools. So specifically through that project, we're trying to capture the knowledge and lived experience of children, young people, and family members from their contact with the formal care system. What did they experience there? What was their experience in residential care or formalized kinship care? And, you know, those who have left these forms of care to live independently, did they leave to be independent, or were they reintegrated back into their families? What we plan to do is to use what we learn from those we speak with. How do we determine the needs and gaps in the workforce? What knowledge and attitudes and skills do they need to have in order to be effective? When it's appropriate, we'll document the knowledge and experience through videos, written testimonies, and other creative media to help people understand how we can better serve the youth that are involved in various forms of care outside their families. Currently, our teams in Uganda and India are beginning to conduct the formal assessments, and we hope to start the process very soon in Brazil. Going forward to our next slide, and this is one of my favorite slides, and you've heard me say it throughout the presentation today. Join the Alliance. It's free. It's got a great deal to offer. Here are just a few things identified on the slide. All the resources that I've talked about through our discussion today. We have webinars and the annual symposium that you're able to, participate in. You can share blog posts. We advertise upcoming events. It's just too good to pass up. So I hope that you will take an opportunity. You can see that the site address is right below. And you just know that the Alliance does have over 3,400 individual members that are affiliated with government, UN agency, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and so forth, across those 150 countries I mentioned. And we would encourage anyone committed to strengthening and advocating for the social service workforce to join us. come be a part of our ongoing dialogue with global social service community. We would welcome you. So going to our last slide, I want to thank you and hope that this presentation has given you a better idea of who we are and what we do, as well as what we're currently focused on. And we'd love to see how we can collaborate either on a current project or a new one. So we are now at our Q&A, and we are, again, lucky to have Elena Sherman online. Elena is the Alliance Communications and Advocacy Manager, and she's on to help answer your questions. So at this point, let's see, I'm going to check the chat and see. Okay, I just see someone wants to join the Alliance, so just go to the website. Okay, Carolina.
Hi, thank you so much, Kathy, for your presentation and for being here. And what is the name of your friend?
Elena.
Alina.
Aha.
Hello, Alina.
Sorry, I will rename myself.
Yes, so here we are.
Yes, a ver, questions, friends? Any question, any comment you like to speak? Maybe Amelie, you would like to do any comment? Amelie.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I'm just interested to join the Global Alliance. I will check this out later. How can I best of service? So I find that it's interesting what they have to offer to the world, and it's yeah, I will check the website. Thanks for sharing, Catherine.
My pleasure. Elena can tell us more, but we are updating our website. So look for that to come in the future, but it's still good to go right now.
Yes,
So I
everything
will
will
check your
transfer
contact
over,
too.
but yeah, we are updating our website to be launched at the end of this month. So it might
Oh,
look a little
perfect.
bit different at the end of this month, but for the better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we look forward to receiving your membership.
I see that you have a lot of members. How you start the Global Alliance? How you create the organization? What difficulties you have passed to continue?
Well, as we mentioned in the presentation, a need was identified, and through the support of some other organizations, personnel, particularly one person, the first director of the Alliance, helped get things going. From there, I'm not completely sure all the nuts and bolts, and maybe Elena would have a better idea of what happened to get it going.
Yeah, I think, it really stemmed from that Social Welfare Workforce Strengthening Conference in Cape Town in 2010. And so that was really the impetus that got us going. I think there was, I forget, there was 18 countries, if I'm not mistaken, that came together. And really what they identified was, oh, we're all working on social service workforce strengthening, but we're not communicating with one another. We're not able to share our learnings with one another. And so that was really the impetus for the Alliance, was that there needed to be a way for countries to come together or different stakeholders in countries to come together and share their learning around workforce strengthening and what was working, what wasn't working. So that's really kind of where we got started. It did take about 3 years to really take things off. But thanks to some generous funding we received actually through PEPFAR, we were able to get started. And we kicked off with really doing a lot of webinars, and then just kind of developing our resource database. And then we gradually started thematic groups. We started our Social Service Workforce Strengthening Week as an advocacy effort. We started our State of the Social Service Workforce Report. So it's all just kind of built from there. And all of those initiatives have continued to date. So, and our membership has continued to grow. We have quite a number of members from all over the country, all over the world, not country, and from various different backgrounds. They all work in quite a large, we have government, UN individuals, practitioners themselves who work for nonprofits. So quite a variety that come together through the Alliance.
Sounds great, no? And the majority members, o sea, in quantity, in which places or which continents are the majority?
Yeah, so I would say the majority are from East and Central Africa. That's kind of where I think some of our initiatives really took off because a lot of them attended that Social Welfare Workforce Strengthening Conference. So that is a lot of our members are originally from there. Or a lot of our original members are from there, I should say. But since then, we've really grown into Southeast Asia. We currently are really looking to grow our members in Latin America. We have identified that, we don't have a very, we want to make sure that we're working with Latin American countries and gaining learning from them as well. So that is definitely where we're looking to expand into.
Through
Yeah.
CAPA, everybody will see you.
Yeah.
After the Congress, at the ending of the Congress, I put the subtitles in Spanish, so it will be easier
Okay,
for
great.
people.
Yes.
But the good is that we are just recording all this with the
Yes.
information and these things, so people could see and watch and look, no,
Yes.
the information later.
And I should mention too, so we realized that in order to really be more accessible to members throughout the world, language is so critical. And so something we're currently working on at the moment is to translate some of our key guidance materials into Spanish, as well as into French and potentially Arabic. So soon, actually by the end of this year, we're hoping that at least 2 of our materials will be in Spanish. Our child protection, social service workforce strengthening
Good,
guidelines will be in
great,
Spanish.
great.
So those will be available.
Congratulations. Because it's a
Yeah,
lot of work, no? Because
yeah,
translate,
yeah,
publications, and
yeah.
check
And
it
then
out.
hopefully next year we'll continue that movement. That is definitely a strong priority of
Sounds
ours.
great.
Yeah.
And tell me, what are the subjects where you like an statistics that you receive? So would you, for example, in Africa, I think that maybe is the poverty the most issue that you information that you receive something, no? Entonces, which issues you receive more, no? Which subjects?
I mean, I think it's quite varied. It really depends again, yeah, on that region. Something that have focused heavily on is really this strengthening the workforce for family-based care. Um, and that's something that we definitely focus strongly on, as well as just different issues of child protection. But recently we are looking to kind of grow our knowledge as well as that means gaining knowledge from our members around specific issues in climate change is, we know, a major thematic area that needs to continue to be really thought about specifically in terms of the role of the workforce in responding to climate change and also preparation of the workforce for climate change. We also recognize aging populations. And so that's an area we'd really like to kind of dive into, as well as the role in how we can build the capacity of the workforce to effectively work with those populations. Yeah, and so I think there's lots of other things. I mean, refugee and migration crises is another area we'd love to dive into. So many things. It's just we have to kind of
Yeah.
figure out, yeah, which one we can really dive into and get more resources developed for.
Sure. It's yes, a problem that's getting increased with the situation, with the conflicts. No, it's very deep, very deep.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that you guys are doing a lot of things, no? And we sometimes we don't know so much what are people is doing in the world. And
Yeah.
and you have any kind of relationship with the UN, with the Nations United?
Yeah, so we work very closely with UNICEF. They've always been one of our key partners in everything we do. So a lot of our projects that we currently work on have been through UNICEF in terms of the country level work we're doing. So we definitely work very closely with UNICEF, and a lot of our guidance has been developed in collaboration.
And with United Nations too.
I mean, I think most of it's primarily been with UNICEF, but not necessarily with, yeah.
Because it's a part of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Oh, Kathy, you are in the organization. How long have you been here in the organization?
About 4 years, getting close to 4 years as a volunteer leader. And I'm careful about, where I choose to put my time. And I was so impressed by this organization. I was really happy to join their steering committee because anything I can do to support this kind of work and helping the people who are doing the work on the ground in the country, anything I can do to contribute to that is a good thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So
Absolutely.
We need a lot of information, knowledge, no?
Yeah, and for me, I'll tell you, one of the things that I learned from work in Romania, and this was back in the 90s, so a while, and early 2000, is the notion of advocacy, with governments or with other, organizations is so critical to, getting what is needed in order to make the workforce more effective. And so I think the work that the Alliance does to support that is really critical. I know many of us as social workers focus on the direct service piece, but that other piece is so important. And so that's where Global Social Service Workforce Alliance can be really helpful too in terms of the guidance.
Well, the good is that we see your guidance and if we can share this information to read, no?
Yes.
We need a lot of material as social workers, no? Sometimes need you have this experience in publish it, the experience that you have been doing is published. So, or you have in digital?
The reports.
Just the experience that people like a book or something.
Oh, everything you saw, in the slides is available through a link, right, Elena? Yeah, so you can
Yeah.
pull it up and you could print it out if you wanted to, but you can look at it online. We don't do a lot of actual physical printing, but it's available. The text is there.
Okay. Well, my question was that if you had you published books or magazines or about organization.
Like a newsletter?
It could be newsletter or research.
Do you mean more like peer-reviewed publications, that kind of thing?
Could be.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've primarily just worked on more kind of open access materials that are readily available. So haven't really done journal publications. But on our website, we do house a lot of journal publications from other organizations through our database. And yeah, we also have a newsletter that comes out every single month that kind of does a recap of all the different journal articles, resources, publications, blogs that have been coming out for that month around social service workforce strengthening. And we always welcome the input of anyone to recommend a resource that we could include or to contribute a blog for us.
Yeah, if you like, I could put the link in my webpage so
Yeah, that'd be
people
great.
could access directly to your webpage if you like.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, that would be
course.
okay.
Thank
That's
you.
good. Well, guys, really interesting the experience of your organization. Thank you so much. And your message, your suggestions, that your last suggestion message for social workers who are watching you in this moment.
My message would be, I'm so excited for you, that you're having this conference. And, I love social work and I love social workers. And I know a few, in fact, the last president of the Federation, International Federation of Social Workers, Silvana Martinez, is someone that I know and cherish. But just that, keep up the good work that you're doing and join us.
Now we have our president is Joaquin Mumba from South Africa. He's very nice guy. In my webpage, in my YouTube channel, I had a little interview with him. I met him in Panama. He is really friendly, and so it is pretty nice. And Kenya Batista now is our regional president of Latin American and Caribbean. And she will be this Congress on Thursday at 7 p.m. She will speak here on the Congress.
Excellent.
I think it's in Spanish. Today it's only in English. Everything is English. Tomorrow until Saturday will be everything in Spanish.
Now, I want to know what Elena's message is.
Well, I would just say I've actually been working on these worker profiles. So one thing we often do is, feature social workers and social service workers and to really just showcase, the important role they play. And so I've been interviewing quite a number of social workers in the past few days for to develop all these new profiles that'll go in our State of the Social Service Workforce report this year. And I'm really just in awe of all of them. So it's just amazing how they can I think some of the messages that I've really received is just that it's difficult work and it can be extremely challenging, but they're such heartfelt people, and I'm so motivated by each and every one of them. So I would just say to keep going, and you will have challenges, but you will also have so many successes, and that you are really just you're so important to so many solving so many issues in the world, and so and to thank you.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
yeah.
Yes, really appreciate this. And we will continue to contact, sure. And well, but for this moment, I want to say goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Have a good time.